Hi, I'm Keith Welch, and welcome to Intermediate iOS App Development. In this course, we're going to take a deeper dive into iOS app development. We're assuming that you know the basics, and we want to take a look at a lot of the most popular features that iOS provides. We're going to take a look at APIs and some of the kits that Apple has given us to work with. The prerequisites are that you do know some of the basics of iOS programming. We're assuming that you understand how to use storyboards and UI controls. We're also assuming that you're familiar with Swift, and of course that you have the Xcode environment. What we'll be looking at are a number of different sections. We'll be looking at interfacing with remote data, web services, and we'll take a look at the Weather Underground web service as an example. So that's a real-world application that you can add to your apps. We'll also take a look at media. Photos are very important to applications these days, as is music and video. And we're going to show you how to create photos, take the pictures with the camera, show them in a gallery, how to record audio and play audio, and also get audio from the media library that Apple provides, and query it. We'll also show you how to record video and play back video. And then we'll get into GPS and mapping, the location services. It's another really popular feature for applications. So often people want to know for e-commerce applications how to get to a location or where the location is. So we can use a map to provide directions, give them the distance, how far they are, and maybe provide options to say, this is how you get there when you walk, this is how you get there drive, or with mass transit. So a lot of interesting mapping options that we can provide. We'll also take a look at two different kinds of maps. iOS changed the mapping technology that they used a few versions back, but you still may have to support that older version. So we're going to show you how to use the old MapKit maps in addition to the current map technology. We'll also use GPS in order to find the user's current location, and we can show that current location on the map, and we can continuously track it as well. So that's a really common feature for an application, and we'll show you how to do that. We'll also get into the motion framework. And the motion framework uses accelerometers and gyroscopes to determine the position of the device and whether it's moving in one way or another. In that way, you can handle the user's motions to create gestures. For instance, there's an application out there that's a bit of a panic application. So that instead of the user, when they get in trouble, having to open the application and try to tap it and maybe text a message or something like that, all they have to do is shake their phone in a particular way, and the application interprets that to mean this person's in trouble, and some pre-recorded messages or text messages are sent out to some particular destinations that they already had set up in the application. So that's one way of using the motion data. We'll also take a look at the social APIs. Of course, social apps are huge. You might have heard of Facebook and Instagram and such. So we're going to take a look at the APIs that allow us to post to Facebook and post to Twitter, and there's a number of different ways we can do it. The social APIs are built into iOS, but then Facebook also has its own API that expands the features that you can use. So we'll take a look at that. We'll also look at using CloudKit, and CloudKit provides cloud storage that we can work with. Newer versions provide storage that we can use basically as a simple database. So we can create objects up on the cloud and query them in the same way we would query a database. It's certainly not a full-blown relational database, but it is free, and it does provide some nice capability for a limited amount of dollars, mainly none. So that's a nice thing. And then we get to the real meat. We get to in-app purchasing. Although iOS is no longer the largest selling operating system in mobile, Android did take that over, it is still the #1 grossing operating system for app developers. And the biggest and highest grossing apps are not ones that are charged apps, they're free apps, but they use in-app purchasing to generate income. So we're going to take a look at the ins and outs of how to set up in-app purchasing. Apple doesn't make it easy. It's fairly complicated, and it can be even more so depending on how you choose to validate receipts. But it is the way that you can make money on applications. There's also another way that we'll take a look at called iAds. That conveniently is really simple if you don't mind adding ads into your application. So after you've gone through all of this, you'll be able to create some really fairly full-featured applications that have some compelling functions for your users. And that's really our goal in this course, to take you beyond just creating simple basic applications that use standard controls and talk to a database. So now we'll get you to the place where you can talk to remote data services, where you can use the GPS and the map, where you can social network, where you can provide in-app purchasing, where you can do motion, and CloudKit storage. So a lot of different features that we're going to be able to show you, and at the end of the course you'll be able to work with and put into your applications. So now it's time to tell you a little about me. As you can see, this isn't my first rodeo. I actually have 30 years of experience in engineering, and another 20 in software development. And finally we get to mobile, and I've been in mobile for 12. Back when I started in mobile, my big decision was whether I should go with Palm Pilot or Microsoft Pocket PC. iOS, Android, they didn't exist. They weren't even a thought. So I chose the Microsoft Pocket PC because I came from the Microsoft world, and that was a good decision for a while. But of course times have changed, and now I've branched into iOS and Android quite happily. The mobile world is a very interesting and different world. If you haven't developed a lot in mobile, it's a little bit of a different mindset in that you're working with a device with limited resources, both in screen and memory and storage. And also you're working with a device that may or may not be connected to a network. So it's a different mindset than your typical development. And that's one of the things that makes it really interesting. Back when I started, I was a relatively mediocre-sized fish in a very small pool. These days, that pool is much, much bigger, and that's an exciting thing too. So I hope that you'll enjoy mobile application development. I think it's a great field to be in, and I'm hoping that we'll be able to help you make way.